Welcome to The Explainer. Right now, we're taking a super fast-paced, really fascinating look at the rapidly escalating integration of AI into basically every single aspect of our lives. We're not just talking about chatbots anymore, guys. We are talking about a totally fundamental shift in our physical reality, our digital security, and honestly, the very foundation of our global economy.
So let me ask you this. Are we actually ready for a post-privacy, robot-filled world? It's a massive, high-stakes question. Because as we're going to see today by looking at the latest industry moves, this isn't some sci-fi movie set 50 years in the future. This is literally happening right now, in real time. And this transition, it's going to impact all of us.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our roadmap for today's explainer. First, the era of robotics slop. Second, quantum computing's privacy threat. Third, compute as the new currency. And finally, AI agents in EVE Online.
Section 1. The Era of Robotics Slop. How AI is crossing into our physical homes.
You know companies like Figure AI and 1X? Well, they're scaling up at a completely breakneck pace to mass-produce household robots as we speak. Figure AI is actually ramping up to pump out a full robot every single hour, and 1X is testing units that could drop to around $20,000. But what are these early units actually going to do? That brings us to this brilliant industry term, robotics slop. Look, we are talking about a robot cooking you a 5-star Michelin meal or doing, delicate origami. We're talking about simple, low-dexterity chores. Putting away scattered toys, moving papers, stacking up the dishes. It's the low-level, repetitive stuff that just eats up our time every single day.
And the strategy to make these robots smarter? It all comes down to the flywheel effect. Companies actively want to deploy these clunky beta prototypes right into your home. Why? Because step 2 involves a human remotely teleoperating that exact robot to do your dishes. To you, hey, the chore's done. But to the company, they are executing step 3, gathering massive amounts of messy, real-world home data. They take that data, update the firmware, and eventually push the robot to full autonomy. Basically, an inch ahead today means they're a mile ahead tomorrow.
Moving right along Section 2, quantum computing's privacy threat. The invisible deadline to our digital past.
So, shifting gears from physical robots to the digital realm, there's this invisible, looming deadline. Renowned computer scientist Scott Aaronson recently put out a pretty stark warning about quantum computing. He's saying that within roughly the next 3 years, quantum capabilities are expected to reach a point where standard encryption can just be broken, gone. This leads us straight to what some are calling Q-Day, hitting around 2029, where we could see the total decryption and exposure of historically secured information. Major tech players, Google, Oracle, Cloudflare, they are already rushing to mitigate this exact timeline.
And there's a pretty chilling realization here. For years now, various nation-states around the globe have been quietly harvesting and hoarding massive amounts of encrypted data. We're talking VPN traffic, military comms, your private messages. They couldn't read it back then, but they scooped it up with the specific hope that a technology exactly like quantum computing would eventually arrive to unlock it. Just imagine decades of digital secrets suddenly exposed and analyzed by an artificial superintelligence.
Now, tech companies aren't just sitting on their hands. Apple, for instance, is actually already rolling out quantum-resistant encryption on iPhones for new messages. But, and this is a massive but, here's the crucial distinction. While those quantum-resistant protocols are absolutely essential to protect the data we create tomorrow, they cannot retroactively protect the decades of historical data that's already been captured and is just sitting on foreign servers right now. Once quantum computing cracks standard encryption, our digital past basically becomes an open book.
All right, Section 3, compute as the new currency, the macroeconomic shift. So, you might be wondering who actually controls the power behind these robots and quantum threats. We're seeing a fundamental shift in how corporate wealth and investments are even defined right now. For the last year, critics have been shouting that AI companies are just burning billions of dollars, calling the whole thing unprofitable. But actually, scratch that. Think about the comparison here. Traditional expenses, rent, payroll, operations, that's burnt capital. Once it's spent, it's gone for good. Buying compute, meaning those massive racks of TPUs, GPUs, and neural net training, is a totally different ballgame. When tech giants pour billions into compute, they aren't just spending cash, they are aggressively acquiring a future-returning asset.
The biggest financial titans in the world are absolutely recognizing this. Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock, specifically noted that AI compute is scarce, standardized, and incredibly price volatile. It's rapidly becoming a brand new asset class.
We might literally be looking at a near future where computational power is traded on futures markets, exactly the way we trade physical commodities like oil or corn or gold today.
And this race to control compute, it is happening right under our noses. 3 billion, that is the number of global users currently on the Google Chrome browser. Recently, Google silently pushed a 4 gigabyte download of its Gemini Nano AI model directly into Chrome browsers worldwide. No massive press release, no big announcement. They just effectively turned billions of local consumer machines into edge compute nodes overnight. The actual infrastructure for this new currency is being laid across all of our personal devices.
Which brings us to Section 4, AI Agents in EVE Online. Training grounds in a virtual universe.
So, what exactly do you do with all that unimaginable computational power once you have it? Well, you train the AI in the most complex environment possible. Google DeepMind, led by Demis Hassabis, has essentially taken a stake in CCP games. The goal here is wild. They want to turn the massive 20-year-old space simulation game EVE Online into an active AI research lab. Now, Hassabis has famously used games like chess, Go, and Atari to train AI before, but they are moving way, way beyond those clean, simple benchmarks. They want to test AI in messy, living, breathing ecosystems.
So the crucial point here is why EVE Online of all things? Well, this isn't some game with scripted, predictable enemies. It has an entirely unpredictable, player-driven economy. Human players are out there mining raw materials, managing incredibly deep supply chain logistics, forging complex political alliances, and executing these ruthless corporate betrayals that take months to plan. Plus, the ships and assets in this game, they have real-world monetary value, sometimes worth thousands of dollars. It is a hyper-complex society built purely on human deception and strategy.
And this leads us to a pretty incredible realization. This whole thing is not just about winning a video game, not even close. If AI agents can be trained to survive, negotiate, and thrive amidst the absolute social and economic warfare of EVE Online, they are taking a direct, highly calculated stepping stone toward operating within our actual, real-world global economy. Basically, they're learning to outsmart humans in a virtual galactic market so they can navigate ours. Which leaves us with one final, kind of mind-bending question to ponder. As robots master our physical chores, as AI secures and decodes our data, and as these agents master global economics, human labor is inevitably going to be displaced. When that happens, will access to compute become our universal basic income? Are we looking at a future where every single citizen needs to demand a personal allocation of computational power just to survive and participate in the new economy? It's a fascinating, urgent thought. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer today. Keep asking questions, and I'll catch you next time.